This episode is brought to you by Hasa. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the bottom feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the best of the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I sit down with industry legend Bob Lowry, who passed away in 2021, but of course his legacy lives on in the industry. We sit down and we talk about copper, and is it safe to use copper in your swimming pool? Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support. From me, I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. There's a lot of products out there. Nowadays they call them mineral technology or mineral systems. I don't know what they were called them back in the older days. But you have things like the Frog, the Nature 2, the Pool RX, and even the solar ionizers that float in the pool and the sun hits the top, and then that also adds copper to the water. Now, copper, of course, is a great way to prevent algae, and I've even heard customers referred to putting like a copper anode in their skimmer basket. It's like a piece of copper. So copper does kill algae, right?
Yes, actually, copper at a low level kills algae, and at a little bit higher level, it kills bacteria. So you can kill bacteria and algae with copper. The problem is that there are a number of problems with doing that. First of all, the level at which it kills algae and bacteria is right at the edge of the level where it causes stains. So if you use it, you have to use a sequestering agent or a chelating agent in the water to prevent staining. Also, understand this. When people sell the ionizers, they claim that this kills bacteria and algae and your pool will be algae and bacteria free. Well, you realize, of course, that when you add chlorine to your pool, that about 15% of the chlorine goes for killing algae and bacteria, and 85% of it goes towards oxidation of sunblock and sweat and urine and all the stuff that's on our bodies when we get into the pool. If you use a copper ionizer in your pool, it doesn't oxidize anything. So you need a separate oxidizer, and you need a lot of it because you're going to have to get rid of all of that stuff, all of that sweat, urine, sunblock, all those things. And a non-chlorine oxidizer is probably not strong enough to get to destroy most sunblock because it's a complex molecule and the oxidizer just doesn't have enough oxidizing power to do it. Chlorine does, but even chlorine may not kill some sunblocks. They make them that way so that they don't break down, so you can put them on your body and they'll last. And they even make them now so they're waterproof, but they still get in the water. Once they get in the water, chlorine has to spend a lot of time trying to oxidize it. At any rate, I think that, again, the right chlorine level is where we need to be. But copper, the other thing that copper does not do, it kills algae and it kills bacteria, but it doesn't kill it very quick. And I've talked about this with you before about what we call bather to bather disease transmission. And copper is not strong enough, not a good enough bactericide to kill bacteria that comes from you, gets in the water and gets on me. It's not fast enough to kill that bather to bather disease transmission. You have to have something in the water. EPA has said that you can use an ionizer, but you have to use chlorine with it. You can use a low level of chlorine, but you need to use chlorine with it. And then there is a problem with keeping a low chlorine residual. And I think I've talked about this with you before, and that is when you keep a low chlorine residual, when you get a number of bathers into the water, they wipe out your chlorine residual. Now you got no chlorine residual all over again. Keeping a low level of chlorine with copper in the water, as soon as you get bathers in the water, your chlorine's gone, and now you don't have any protection in the water against the disease, bather to bather disease transmission.
And one side effect I think that you hear about a lot, and it's not an urban legend because this has happened, is if you have light hair, blonde hair, and there's a high level of copper in the water, and then there's a high level of chlorine in the water, your hair will actually turn green.
It's true that copper in the water causes green hair. Chlorine in the water does not cause green hair. No chlorine in the water causes green hair. The reason that people think that chlorine causes green hair is they put tablets of chlorine in their skimmer, and then the acid from the tablets dissolves part of their copper heater, and it gets into the pool. And once the level gets high enough beyond the saturation point, we have copper in the water. You put people in it, and it makes their hair and fingernails green, and it'll make your pool green if you leave it long enough. So people think that the chlorine tablets cause the problem. But think about it, chlorine is a bleach. It's not a dye. It doesn't make things green. It makes things white. That's why we put it in the washing machine. It makes things white. Chlorine doesn't make anything green. Copper, yes, and copper sulfate is the most common cause. And it actually makes green on everybody's hair. But people with brown or dark hair, when you put green on it, you can't see it. When people have gray hair or blonde hair, or young people that have new hair, is more susceptible to copper staining than people that have brown hair.
And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description. And I know we talked about algicides in the past, and what about those that swear by copper algicides? I know they're highly effective, but we mentioned the fact that there's a certain level that will cause staining in the pool, and these copper algicides, the instructions on them are really specific. If you read them, there's many cautions on there about using the proper amount. And
Yes.
So copper algicides have that danger of staining the pool in some cases, right?
That's correct. Although most of the algae manufacturers, the copper algae manufacturers, have put a sequestering agent in with the copper. So it's in the bottle when you pour it in your pool, and there's enough sequestering agent to prevent it from causing a stain, at least while you're getting rid of the algae. But understand that a sequestering agent is an organic molecule, and you're putting chlorine and oxidizers into the pool. And there's also sunlight there. So between those three things, they're going to eventually weaken and degrade that organic molecule so it doesn't work anymore. And this is the reason that most of the places that sell sequestering agents tell you need to add them on a regular basis because they are degrading and you need to replace them. If you put an algicide in the water, and if you superchlorinate, you're going to degrade that sequestering agent. So if you do that, you're causing a problem. Even though you think you're doing a good thing, you put in a copper algicide that's got a sequestering agent, and then you put in chlorine, and it destroys the sequestering agent. Now you got a stain in the pool. You need to follow the directions and do what it says. But again, I am a big promoter of using chlorine first. You've already got it on your truck. It's easy, it's cheap. It's cheaper than buying an algicide. You put in 25 parts per million of chlorine, leave it for 24 hours, as we've discussed. Make sure that 25 ppm is maintained for 24 hours, and you're going to kill most algae. And then you go back to using your pool.
Yeah, what about copper staining? This is very common. We mentioned low pH causes some copper staining from equipment, and then of course overusing a copper algicide or ionizer. If we were to get to a certain level and stain the plaster or the pool surface, what's the best way to remove the staining of the copper on there besides draining it and acid washing the pool, which is a pretty harsh level? What about something that you can do while there's still water in the pool?
Well, one of the things that you can do, understand too, that if you use a sequestering agent, all it does is surround the metal ions with the molecules so that the metal ion can't attach to anything else. So the metal is still technically in the pool. It just can't combine with anything and make a stain. So we want to remove the metal from the pool. And as you've said, if there's a stain on the pool, we can acid wash the pool. But aside from that, we can use one of these products, and you can use a brand name, but there are these little bags and cages that you can put into the skimmer that remove the metal from the pool. And again, we talk about saturation points. And if you take metal out of the water, there's more room in the water for metal. So you take some of the metal out, the stain that's on the wall can redissolve into the water. You take some more metal out, and the stain that's on the wall can redissolve into the pool. So by removing metal from the water, you can remove the stain from the pool. You can also use a metal remover product that removes the stain but doesn't remove the metal from the pool. You can use that in conjunction with the metal remover you put in the skimmer. So you can use a product that has ascorbic acid or citric acid in it, and it will take like an ascorbic acid metal remover will remove the stain very well from the pool. But if you don't then get rid of that combined ascorbic acid and metal, if you don't get rid of that, when you superchlorinate, the ascorbic acid gets wiped out by the chlorine, you still got the metal in the pool. So if you can use as a 1-2 punch, you can put ascorbic acid in the pool, put a bag in the filter or a little cage in the filter, and as it pulls it off of the wall, it'll suck it into the bag that's in the filter. But the bag that's in the filter is going to take perhaps a week or longer for all of the water to go through that little bag that's in the skimmer.
Yeah, and I guess we could mention that's a See You Later product. We know the people there really well, both of us, and they actually have a kit. You mentioned all the products in their kit. Something that they came out with that's relatively new. Well, it's been on the market for a while, but they're trying to relaunch this kit, and it has the ascorbic acid, it has a bag of citric acid, it has the See You Later Ultra 4.0, which is the little baggie that pulls the metal out, and it has their sequestering agent. So that is all in one kit. And you kind of need that, right, for the whole removal without draining and acid washing, as you mentioned. So it's kind of smart of them to put it all in one kit, right?
Yeah, they also do have a separate canister type filter that has a cartridge that you put into it that's impregnated with their technology. And what you can do to speed things along is if you've got a separate pump that you sometimes use for your vacuum or for draining or something, you can set a pump beside the pool, draw water in from one side, run it through the filter that removes the metal, and put the hose back in the pool, let it run for a while, which is a much more efficient way of doing it than just putting a bag in the skimmer.
Once you have the copper staining in the pool, that's when you start to have to also be detective and find out where it's coming from. You just can't eliminate it without finding the source, because then it could come back in the pool.
Right. It can be from a number of things. It can be from a copper algicide. It can be from incoming water. It can be from using trichlor tabs in the skimmer. It can be from overfeeding anything that's acidic. It can be from, believe it or not, water velocity. You can be running the water too fast through anything that has metal in it, and it's eroding the metal rather than corroding it. And so there's an erosion that happens because of water velocity. These things are important to understand.
Yeah, and I guess one more source that is something that you don't hear about a lot, but we've been finding this to be a problem, is in a brand new PebbleTech pool, they do a lot of work to get the metals out of the pebbles before they process them. But there's been a lot of cases lately. I don't know if it's because they're having too many orders and because of all the building going on, but there are some of the pebbles that have metal in it, and then in the pool there'll be a spot forming on the bottom, like a rust spot, sometimes as big as a nickel, sometimes smaller, and that's actually the surface of the pool causing the problem.
Yes, and it's not too uncommon for certain areas of the country where they mine the pebbles and the rocks to have iron in them. And so when the iron sees the light of day and some chlorine, now all of a sudden we get a brown colored stain or a yellow colored stain on the surface, and it's because there was iron in the rock.
If you're looking for more podcasts, you can find those by going to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com, where I have if you click on the podcast icon, I should say, it'll bring down a menu over 1,900 podcasts for you to listen to at your leisure. If you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great week. God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.